with about 140 resorts in Canada and the United States, as well as the umbrella organizations, marketing organizations such as Ski Utah, Colorado Ski Country USA, Canadian Ski Council, also NSAA, National Ski Areas Association, which is the national umbrella marketing organization for the industry. We've been in business since 1983, so 34 years. I've been there for 28 years. This is my 29th season doing this, doing surveys at ski resorts. We also do general travel and tourism related research in the summertime as well in the mountain towns throughout the West. We cover everything from not only the skiing experience, but lodging, transportation issues, affordable housing, anything that goes into making up a destination or a resort community. And we've been working for Ski Utah for, probably at least 15 years, doing their market research and their survey. Historically, this survey has been every other year. And what we've run into is that sometimes, there's good years and there's bad years. 2 years ago, was a really good year for a record season, about 4.2 million skier visits, and it was not a Ski Utah scheduled survey year, and everybody was wishing they had data, and we didn't have it. So last year was a scheduled year, another record season, about 4.5 million skier visits for the state. And then we've been talking about this for some time to let's just get on an annual basis and doing the surveys so that we have consistent data year after year. That information is available for Ski Utah and the resorts as well. It's easier to keep it going year after year instead of trying to jumpstart the program every season. People forget how to, what we've done 2 years ago, so just to provide some more continuity to the program. Let's see here. We do a number of different surveys for NSAA. One of them is the National Demographic Survey, which you guys also participated in historically. What we've been talking to John about is integrating the two with the Ski Utah surveys, because there's a lot of overlap in questions that are being asked. And really, there's only a handful of questions on the demographic form that would need to get integrated into the Ski Utah form in order to have good coverage of questions that are absolutely needed for NSAA purposes. And we can talk about that later, about how we tackle that or what you want to include. So I have a presentation here that I've been going through. This is my 4th training session since I've been in Utah yesterday. We typically do it this time of year. I do one in Ogden with the Northern Resorts. I do one up in Park City. I did one earlier this afternoon here, the Cottonwood Resorts, and then John had requested he wanted to bring all your staff, all his staff in here to hear the same thing that we've been talking about with the managers of the program. So, in a nutshell, that's why we're here today. I think I'll start to go through it. Just stop me if you have any questions. It's a lot of information. And then we can open it up for discussion, and as well as customized stuff that you want to add, John, to the program.
Quick question.
Coming for this year. Yeah.
Anybody else in Utah who want to combine Ski Utah and NSAA?
Nobody has brought it up.
Really?
Yeah. Alta, they do NSAA, the NSAA survey, but they seem pretty content in keeping the two separate, which is fine. A lot of resorts also have their own customized survey program that we administered, such as Snow Basin and Deer Valley and Solitude. So it's their own mix of questions that they want to probe. A lot of them are heavily satisfaction tracking oriented, so they're monitoring the guest experience. Some are weekly reporting even that we're providing, online dashboards, things like that. And they're really into having their finger on the pulse of the guest experience so they can react to any problems that might occur from week to week. In those surveys, we actually, because they're asking a lot of questions that we can extract and include into the NSAA overall database. And that's another byproduct of all these resorts that we're working with nationally. we have that luxury or capability where we're building a huge database for NSAA. We're able to track industry trends from year after year. As you probably know, snow sports is a pretty flat industry. There's a lot of challenges facing the industry, let alone climate change. There's changing demographics. Baby boomers are getting older and dropping out of the sport that made it big in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Millennials are now 45% of the total market. Problem is, they don't ski as much as their baby boomer counterparts did historically. They ski about half as many days historically. Baby boomers skied 9-10 days on average per season. Millennials ski about 5 days. So what that means is you need 2 millennials to replace one baby boomer that's dying off or dropping out of the sport. So it's a real challenge. There's a lot more income disparity. The technology, there's so many other distractions, and there just isn't that enthusiasm among younger sets, the younger population now that there once was. So there's a lot of things, and that's one of the impetus of NSAA is try to bring new participants into the sport, and they're constantly, that's kind of their main thrust. How do we bring new people into the sport? Not only bring them into the sport, but convert them into lifelong skiers. Currently, beginners that start the sport, it's only about 18% roughly that stick with the sport. 80+% drop out. They try it for a year or two and they don't come back. 20 years ago, that figure was 15%. So we've done a good job of converting new entrants into the sport, relatively speaking, even though it's needle's moving not that big, but it actually is pretty big in terms of number of people sticking with the sport. But as an industry, we haven't done a good job of bringing new people to try the sport. There's all kinds of barriers to that you're probably aware of: the cost, the hassle, families, so on. So anyways, with that's kind of a background of what we do, what the industry's involved in.
Now, you're a privately owned company, RRC?
We're a private-only company.
Now, are you subsidized by the resorts or by the tourism of the state, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have to, fight and scratch for every dollar we make.
Well, I'm saying, but who
Yeah.
compensates you guys?
Yeah, the resorts.
The resorts, okay.
Yeah, and like Ski Utah pays for this particular project. There's actually 4 funding partners for the Ski Utah project, which is Ski Utah, the Utah State Office of Tourism, Park City Chamber Bureau, and Visit Salt Lake City fund this project in Salt. But like as you said, like Deer Valley, we have our own research program with them, for example, or Snow Basin, and then we have a contract with them, and they pay us for our services to conduct their customized surveys.
No, are their surveys any different than the general ones that we do in a lot of the other resorts? Or?
No, I mean a lot of the same questions, but they may delve into other issues such as more heavily satisfaction, tracking, ratings types of questions. How would you rate the restroom availability, the dining experience, your ski lesson? There might be 5 questions if you took a lesson, rental experience, things like that. Getting into more departmental, different revenue departments, and really tracking those closely. And they're monitoring those weekly, if not more frequently, even on a daily basis. Some resorts are looking at their results to see what's going on, what's the customer saying, how can they improve the experience.
So that, like I said earlier too, I don't know if this is customer confidentiality, you can't say anything, but how nimble are they? Can they actually, what are they changing on a weekly basis?
If it's
Based on customer service.
and there's comments, we're getting open-ended comments that are attached to those ratings, and those can be flagged immediately. We have online dashboards that they can pull up and look at on a daily basis if they want to. Not everybody's doing that, but then they can see, Joe in the restaurant did this or did that. Somebody singled them out, and they can pretty quickly identify the source of the problem and address it. And so that's just another way the information's being used. This particular project doesn't really have that emphasis. It's more, season-long tracking, who's coming here, where they're from, their demographics, their spending patterns. That's actually a big crux of the Ski Utah project is an economic impact analysis that we do at the end of the season. We're asking for visitor expenditures on the survey. We put that into a model and determine what the total spend is, which last year was like $1.43 billion in direct spending attributable to both Utah and destination visitors to the state for a snow sports vacation, and that's irrespective of any secondary spending that's generated throughout the economy by the respending of monies that were dumped into the economy. So it's a pretty big number, and Ski Utah uses that essentially to justify their mission, and they take that to the state legislature as well to demonstrate what the impact of snow sports has on the economy in Utah, which is pretty significant. Yep. So I guess I'll just jump into the survey stuff, the fun stuff. Some of the stuff I'm going to cover is the purpose of survey research, which we just basically talked about right now. Why we're doing this, research methods employed at the resort, sampling methodology and reducing bias, which can creep into the process, sampling plan and survey quotas, survey administration guidelines and overall quality control, some tips and tricks of the trade on how to administer the surveys, some specifics on the tablets that you guys have been using. And there's also an online version of the survey that's available that we'll talk about briefly, and then any other questions that you have at the end of the session, but please feel free to interject as we go along here. So purpose of research, again, it's just to gather information to make informed decisions, data-driven decisions. You'd be surprised how many resorts, companies, destinations